you want to grow your twigs into thick, defined arms, you've come to the right place. After cutting out all the fluff and focusing on just 2 science-backed exercises, my arms grew bigger and fuller than they ever have.
I used to consume videos like this. I used to be one of the 1.3 million people that clicks on this and goes, oh wow, some new fancy information, some science that's going to allow me to get bigger muscles, to grow my bis and tris. I used to be that person and apply that information. And I'm telling you, it's not the truth of what's actually going to produce more growth for you.
Well, theoretically, to maximize growth in all parts of your biceps, you'd want an exercise where the challenge is hardest at the bottom, just like they are with preacher curls, but without the arm held in front of the body so the biceps are more stretched. Which leads me to the weird exercise most of the fitness experts I spoke to recommended, to position yourself sideways so that your arms are now supported by the bench. You might lose a bit of the stretch on the biceps, but it does make up for it with the extra stability, which I personally find makes this exercise a lot more comfortable.
It's just content that will captivate you and make money for the person producing it. Okay, that's all it is. It's overcomplicating the workout process. That's what I've experienced in my own journey, all right? And I'm not the freaking expert that knows everything here, but at this point, it's abundantly clear that the fundamentals of training, what you actually need to focus on, are simply consistency, mastering, making it an actual habit that you go to all your sessions for years on end. 99% of people don't do that. So this type of information, trying these 2 new bicep and tricep exercises, ain't going to do shit for you. Number 2, intensity. Learning to push yourself extremely hard. 99% of people don't do that. You look around the gym, people are cruising and snoozing through their workouts. You're not going to build a significant amount of muscle with that approach. And number 3 is you focus on progressing the weight and reps over time. Are you actually doing these movements for more weight and more reps 6 months in the future? Most of the time not, okay? If you don't have those 3 fundamentals nailed down, this type of information is useless. And that's what I noticed through my own experience.
The other 2/3, triceps. And unfortunately, most people use exercises that don't allow this muscle to reach their full potential, like pushdowns, close grip presses, or dips. Because the long head crosses over the shoulders, whenever you do a triceps exercise with your arm overhead, this muscle gets stretched. And this is also why every single expert I spoke to chose the overhead extension as their number 1 triceps exercise. So make sure they're somewhere in your current routine by doing them for 3 sets of 10 to 15 reps at least 1 to 2 times per week.
It's frustrating because so many people still fall in 2025, still fall for this type of thing. And they cite the studies. It looks like one bicep exercise. It's confusing. Which one's better? Because it doesn't matter.
The researchers wanted to find out what causes more growth. An exercise that focuses more on stretching the biceps, or an exercise that focuses more on challenging the biceps the most at the bottom, when the bicep is still quite stretched, but just not stretched quite as much as it is during incline curls. And the results were confusing. Incline curls led to more growth in the upper part of the arm, but preacher curls led to more growth in the lower part of the arm.
Pick whichever one you want. It's not going to make a big difference, okay? Holy shit. And Jeremy seems like a nice guy, okay? But the truth of how he got a little bit of extra bicep growth and all of a sudden grew a new bicep vein is not because he tried this new exercise. I guarantee you. Either he found a way to progress the weight by maybe changing his rest time, using a faster tempo, changing his diet, changing his mentality, learning to push harder, or he's supplementing with some hormonal adjustment. One of the main things that testosterone is going to do is give you more red blood cells and more blood volume. And he looks the same body fat percentage, but all of a sudden has a new gigantic vein on his bicep. I don't know. Again, I'm going to sound like an asshole to call somebody who makes progress and just say that they're using something. But that's what seems most likely to me. That's probably closer to the truth. One of those categories. I don't know at the end of the day. Maybe he found a way to train harder and progress the weight somehow, and that's what led to the bicep growth. For you to decide. But the presentation of the information and showing off the new muscle and going, oh, do this bicep exercise against a bench where you're awkwardly leaning and this is what you need to know, is just so far from the actual best information you should focus on. And the reason I get fired up is because it distracts you from actually looking at what you need to do, whether you're a beginner, intermediate, or advanced. You need to focus all your energy into just changing your habits so you actually go to the gym all the time. Because 99% of people haven't mastered that. That's going to produce so much more growth than distracting yourself thinking that, oh gosh, here's a new exercise that I need to try and that's what's going to give me growth. The reason you're drawn to it is because it's an easier, more simple prescription. The reason that video has 1.3 million views is that it's comfortable and easy to digest and reach for it. I used to do that too. You just go, oh, that's why. I just need to try a new exercise. Oh, look at this fancy animations and science. And oh, that's the thing that I need. It's a very... if you're not that experienced in lifting, we are all vulnerable to falling for that kind of prescription. But it's not the information that's going to produce more growth for you. And I'm just sick and tired of seeing it. And I think if everybody who's lifting just, took a deep breath, and maybe I'm wrong, okay, but just entertain this as an idea. Maybe growing muscle is not that complicated, okay? Maybe if I just go to all my workouts, train extremely hard, and push myself to push harder and harder and progress the weight and reps over time, maybe I don't need to complicate it any further than that. Pick exercises I like, avoid ones I don't like, work on developing good form, technique, find a way to love what you're doing and build more desire so you actually can change your habits to push for more and more and more. Instead of channeling that energy and focus into consuming more information to know more and more about how to do it and get stuck in this perpetual cycle of not actually making progress and just learning how to do it more and more. And I know it sounds counterproductive because a lot of times in life, knowledge is power. I would say with working out, up to a point, there's some knowledge to understand, but it's just simple stuff, man. It's building muscle, man. Meatheads, that's what it is. It's not that complicated. There's a reason these categorical stereotype bro lifter meathead guys are all freaking yoked and they don't bother reading science and watching all the science based. Like they just go in there and find a love for it and a passion for it and just keep attacking the way. It's just hard. It's just hard. And that's the message that you don't want to digest. And that naturally along your arc as a lifter, when you're, more beginner or intermediate, you're just not going to want to hear that. But that's the truth. And anybody, if you focus more on mastering those things, you're going to activate 90 to 95% of your potential of what you can build muscularly in terms of your genetics. Okay, everybody's has different amounts of potential, but if you're a reasonable, healthy person and you don't have a freaking drug addiction or you don't have wild insomnia, you're going to be able to build like 15, 20, 30 pounds of muscle and you'll be really happy with your physique. But this information is not going to do it. And the last thing that I'll mention is I think we need to shift back more towards valuing information from people that have the result that you want. And don't get me wrong, it doesn't mean that somebody who spends a lot of time educating themselves and presenting information couldn't have something valuable to say. But at the end of the day, if you haven't walked the path and experienced the journey to get the result in which you are going to give advice to other people on how to also get there, then it's it's a little backwards. Can't we all agree? Like, I think you should look at people who have the result that you want, okay? And Jeremy has, 15, maybe 16-inch arms. Okay, if that's your goal, to get 15.5-inch pipes or whatever his arms are, then he's a great resource for you. If you want 18-inch arms, some big old thick girth monster pipe daddies, then stop listening to him because he doesn't have the result. And I know a lot of people aren't going to like that, and you're not going to like the messaging because nowadays it's about being open-minded and considering all these different takes, and any information could be useful, but I don't care. Like, at a certain point, I think you need to just step back and go, maybe it's not that complicated, and maybe somebody who has the result is who I should listen to. And I would apply the same logic to myself. If you don't think my physique is impressive, or if my arms at 18.5 inches are not what you want, or you don't like the shape of them, or my body fabric, or whatever, then don't listen to me. I'll say the same thing to myself. And I challenge myself and push myself to, within my limited training of just hitting arms and legs, to build as impressive a physique as I possibly can, to try to earn the respect and engagement of you guys, an audience, to share my thoughts and insights with you of what truly I have done to get to that stage. And I fully accept anybody's criticism of my physique and desire to not listen to my advice based on my physique. I think that's a very understandable and powerful reason to not listen. And if you said that to me, I'd be like, fair enough, man. I totally respect that. Identify what you do want and go find the person who does have it, if I don't have it, and go listen to them. Doesn't mean you couldn't maybe consider some things I'm saying, or doesn't mean you still couldn't consider some things Jeremy is saying. But at the end of the day, I think you should really prioritize listening to people who have the result that you want. Doesn't mean they're going to have all the best insights and all the best information, but they actually walked the path to get there. And in my opinion, 9 times out of 10, they're going to have the best advice of what to do because they walked along that journey. And somebody who's extremely smart and knows everything and theorizes endlessly, they got a lot of ideas, and a lot of them might be good, but they're always going to have blind spots for the actual process and journey that you need to go on to get to the result because they haven't walked it. So I think we need to, especially around fitness and working out, we need to come back to valuing that a little bit more. And I think you should consume information from people that have achieved the result that you want, and take a minute to really assess this information source. Do they actually have the and fitness and working out is superficial. Like, we're training for aesthetics and to build muscle. Like, do they genetics plays a role, but do they have a physique that I want? Do they have the arms that I want? Do they have the abs that I want? Like, do they have the perspective or attitude that whatever it is? And if I don't, then stop consuming that person's content. Stop consuming my content. Find somebody who does have the things that you want and try to pick up insights and messages that they've garnered along their journey. Like, C-Bum is a great example. He doesn't really give much advice or whatever. Like, he's was just focused on his goals and winning another Olympia title. But if you consume his content, you can pick up on some of the insights and the nuance in it. I don't know. It makes you realize it's like training's not that simple, man. Training's not that complex. He keeps things simple. He really focuses on recovery. He doesn't overanalyze and get all neurotic and think about shit too much. Obviously, he's got elite level genetics. He's on a whole bunch of PEDs and whatever. Okay. But he still has one of the most incredible physiques of all time. What are little insights and tidbits that we can take from that guy? And what are the things he's saying? He's not into science-based lifting. He kind of loosely mocks it. He thinks it's ridiculous. Okay, maybe there's something to that, Maybe he knows something, right? To build that much muscle on his frame. Maybe he realizes, I'm not putting words in his mouth, but I get it that it's tempting to want to continuously know more and learn more because it feels like you're progressing towards your goal. And I've done that myself. And I'm just telling you, with working out, it's not what's actually going to produce as many results, in my opinion. And this kind of content getting millions of views, telling you that you just need a couple new exercises, lay on the bench sideways this time, and there's a new study that says this and one that says this and that, and here's the 2 new movements, look at my bicep vein, it's these exercises. Bullshit, man. It isn't. And you can hate me, you can get mad at me, you can say I'm being an asshole, whatever, but at least for yourself, entertain what I'm suggesting. You don't have to completely agree. Put aside, maybe the emotions of me disagreeing with this content creator or pushing back against science-based lifting or giving you a message that doesn't feel good, that doesn't feel comfortable. Instead of just rejecting it because you don't like me or because it doesn't feel good, just take a minute, take a deep breath, and just think about it for a second and assess, like, what results am I getting from the current information I'm absorbing? And what is the merit to what Matt's saying? And then decide for yourself if it makes sense. Keep it in mind, and then keep experimenting and applying different insights to your own journey and determine for yourself. Like, I'm not gonna scream at you to see things exactly the way I see them. You have to just immediately agree with me. Like, I don't expect you to if you don't like what I'm saying. But somebody who's been lifting for 15 years and has continuously analyzed and assessed and reflected and pushed my limits further and further, it's just a very obvious reflection or insight that I've came to. And a simple truth, in my opinion. And it could be not accurate, potentially. You can decide for yourself, but I think you should at least consider it. Take a minute to try to digest what I'm saying and consider: am I vulnerable? Am I getting lured into this type of content and just information just being regurgitated and twisted and cooked up in all these different ways? And is it really producing more growth for me? And if it is, then, like, when I was consuming that information, applying it, if it continuously led to more growth, then I would have just kept doing it. I never would have questioned. I never would have been like, what? Like, why are my arms the exact same size? I'm doing all the fancy new exercises and contracting my bicep and stretching it in this position. but I'm not any bigger. Like what's going on? Because it's distracting you from focusing on the simple fundamentals, and mastering those simple fundamentals is difficult. It's very difficult, and that's why people don't want to do it. But that's the truth. And all the information being put out about how to lift and all, making it complicated, like if you just cut all that bullshit out and just be like, habitually, what do you need to do to make sure that you actually hit all your workouts this month? Like if you just really look in the fucking mirror at what you're doing and go, yeah, I keep skipping workouts, or I'm consistent for a couple months and then I miss a week or whatever. And for XYZ reason, my job, my relationship, school. But you got to put all your focus into assessing how to improve that. If you don't have consistency, any additional information doesn't matter. If you don't go in there and train extremely hard, like really, like ask yourself, like, do I push my limits every workout? Like, do I really push as hard as I can? And if you don't, then you got to assess, like, what do I need to do to train harder? Like, why do I, like, how, like internally in your own mind, like, do I not like it? Am I avoiding the pain? And then you got to think, like, do I really want the result? Maybe I don't want it bad enough. Maybe I should just, do cardio a few times a week and enjoy myself and focus on other stuff instead of, in this endless loop of consuming information and thinking I'm going to make progress in the gym but never getting anywhere. I'm not here to tell you what your goal is, but realistically assessing, like, what is your progress report on these fundamentals will produce 10x more value in getting you more muscle than watching another video about a new bicep exercise that gave me a giant bicep vein somehow. Wow, weird. It's just the information being presented consistently that pulls the most people in is not closely tied to the truth of what people are doing to actually get bigger muscles. Food for thought. If you want the gosh dang arm program, after all that, you don't need it, it's not that complicated. It's based off my own experimentation and things that I've trial and errored with and condensed down into a program that would be helpful, but if you master the fundamentals, you don't need it. It's an additional tool that could help you. If you're interested and you want to support me, you like my message, sign up for the ARM program. It could help you. But at the end of the day, man, I'm not here to tell you that you need a freaking program to get jacked. Have a great day. Thanks for watching. Peace.